Have you ever seen a live TV debate go completely off the rails because of one unbelievable claim? Well, that's exactly what happened here. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In this clip, we're going to watch a CNN panel burst into laughter after MAGA supporter Lydia Moahan throws out a statistic about the conflict involving Iran that immediately sparks disbelief. I'll let the clip play in full first, and then I'll break down what happened, share my perspective, and explain why this moment has everyone talking. Let's get into it.
Good evening. I'm Abby Phillip in New York. Tonight, a significant escalation in the war against Iran. The president announcing that the United States has bombed what he describes as Iran's crown jewel of oil infrastructure, the Karg Island. Donald Trump just released this video saying that the U.S. struck military targets on that island, but not the oil. He did, however, threaten to attack the oil infrastructure if Iran continues to block ships in the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, Trump says that the United States' ships will soon begin escorting tankers in the strait. Karg Island is critical for Iran. 90% of their crude oil exports are handled there. And just 24 hours ago, Iran warned that if they're attacked, Tehran will, quote, abandon all restraint. The warnings were pretty specific, Josh, not just that they won't be restrained, but specifically on Thursday, this is a statement from the IRG, from the Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting. We warn the aggressor governments and all its allies that the slightest attack on Iran's energy infrastructure and ports will be followed by our crushing and devastating response. In the event of such aggression, all the region's oil and gas infrastructure in which the United States and its Western allies have a vested interest will be set on fire and destroyed. So this is a really big deal because of what it could mean for escalation.
Yeah, it's the definition of an escalation ladder. It's the thing that everyone talks about when you plan a short war, a war that's going to be quick and easy. It's essentially the enemy gets a vote, they escalate, your instinct is to re-escalate, then they re-escalate, and before you know it, you're in a quagmire. And sure enough, that seems exactly what's happening. It was only yesterday, remember, Abby, where Trump said, we're done, we won, we're going to get out, it's over, it's going to be over very, very soon. That's what he said yesterday. And today, he deployed 2,500 Marines and sent them toward Karg Island. It's going to take him 2 weeks to get there, and he abandoned any timelines for the war. It says it's going to take as long as it takes. So it's clear that the president has made a decision that he's going to escalate against the Iranians, and they're announcing that they're going to escalate against us. If we do that, and that just takes the region and the world into further economic chaos, further disruption, higher prices, higher inflation, more instability, more shortages, more migration, more extremism, and a war that lasts for months and months. And someone's got to find an off-ramp where that's exactly what's going to happen, quite unfortunately.
What is the off-ramp, do you think, Brad?
Well, I would take issue with Josh about more extremism. Iran is the one that's been funding the extremism. You can go all the way back to 1979, into the Beirut barracks and the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon, all the way back to the October 7th attacks, and people like Itay Hen and Omer Nutra, who were killed in captivity in Gaza, American citizens. The extremism and the carnage has been going on for far too long. 7 different presidents refused to stop it. And now we finally have a president who's decided we've had enough. Iran does not get to continue to export terror to the Western world and to the United States of America. And that is exactly the thing that's needed to happen for a long time.
Only if it works, though. And if it doesn't work, then all you've done is bomb a civilian population, which is what causes the extremism in the first place. The more you bomb people, the less they like you.
There's no excuse for extremism. Right? You become a radical Islamic extremist because you decided to.
And the Iranian government. The Iranian government is a terrorist regime that deserves what they get. The Iranian people are innocent, and they're getting killed by the thousands. And the more we bomb them, the more they die.
Someone has to bomb the thousands in January.
But what about
the Ayatollah was murdering 30,000 plus people.
Right, and
that's when they were dying. 80+% of people are thrilled to have America come in.
80%?
And hopefully,
80%? Where do you get that
80% of what?
We
don't really have a window.
You know that
unfortunately.
85% of statistics are made up.
We don't have a window, unfortunately, into what is going on the ground in Iran for a lot of different reasons.
We know the American diaspora of the Iranians are
sure, of course, but what we're talking about tonight, everybody understands that the Iranian people would like to be free, right? But I think what we're talking about tonight is what this means for the United States and for the region. And I'm going to play, this is a clip from a podcast featuring David Sachs. He's actually member of the Trump administration on the AI side of things. But he lays out his view of what's happening in the administration and what it could mean in the region. I thought it was interesting. Listen.
You are seeing, however, a faction of people, I'd say largely, but not exclusively in the Republican Party, who want to escalate the war. So if the Iranians get hit, if their oil and gas infrastructure gets hit, they've already said they're going to engage in tit-for-tat retaliation against the Gulf state. And if that happens, it won't really matter if the straits get reopened because you won't be able to restart oil and gas production in the Middle East. I think there was one desal plant in Iran that got hit, and then it caused Iran, again, tit-for-tat to hit a desal plant. I think it was in Kuwait. I could be off about that. But in any event, if you see that type of destruction continue, you could literally render the Gulf almost uninhabitable. I mean, you're just not going to have enough water for 100 million people.
What he's talking about there at the end are the desalination plants that are soft targets in this war. So look, realistically, there has to be some de-escalation at some point because Iran has nothing to lose. They could just send off a few missiles in some of these Gulf states and essentially create a catastrophe.
And that's the question. What is the off-ramp here? I don't think anyone has a clue in the Trump administration, and definitely not for the Arab states who are watching in the region. What do we do to get out of this predicament? I think the problem is that Donald Trump is making it up as he goes along. Every day there's a new answer for what he's going to do. One day we're going to escort ships. The next day we're not going to escort ships. One day it's over. It's already over. We've already won. The next day we're going to go on forever. One day we're there because we want regime change. The next day it's for a different reason because we want to get rid of the enriched uranium. But if you don't have a clear objective from the beginning, there's no clear objective to get out of it. And so how do you sell this to the American people, to the people in the region, to the people outside, to our allies? What this has done is it's strengthened Vladimir Putin, who is reputably our enemy. It's enriched him with oil revenues and helped him with the lifting of sanctions. And it's hurt our own allies. It's divided us. Italy, Germany, and Spain have all come out against this now. They're opposed to what we're doing. Donald Trump has single-handedly divided the alliance.
Lydia?
Our Middle East partners are actually more allied with us than ever. And I would just like to note, I mean, if you hear everyone talk at this table, you'd think this is literally World War III. It's not. I would like to tell everyone the U.S. is winning, and it's not even close. The reason that Iran hasn't retaliated yet is because their capacity is already incredibly diminished.
What do you mean they haven't retaliated?
We have the best military in the world. We've already seen 95% of their drones.
What do you mean that they haven't retaliated?
Where'd you get the 95% figure? Is that another?
That's from CENTCOM. Josh made the point that they could escalate.
No,
Their capacity is already so diminished.
I don't know.
They've been trying to retaliate, and the longer this goes on, the less
13 Americans are dead.
they have.
150 Americans.
They have. I mean, look, they have diminished capacity, but they have been retaliating. Israel is being struck on a daily basis in residential areas with cluster munitions. Neighboring Gulf states are being attacked. The big picture is, how does it end? How does it end? And is there a plan
I think even if we were to stop tomorrow, we've already seen this regime completely crippled. The military has been clear about the objectives. We don't want them to get a nuclear weapon. We want to decrease their missile supply. So we're already accomplishing those goals. We're seeing global terror is going to be decapacitated forever. Hezbollah is getting kicked out of Lebanon. We are already seeing some incredible results. And of course, we want to see this war end tomorrow. But I haven't heard anybody at this table recognize the fact that our military is incredible and has already achieved so much.
See, I think that's what happens when we have these kind of conversations. The implication is if we don't say, woohoo, we're winning, go military, we're not pro-military. I am absolutely pro-military, which is why I'm against this war. Because if you take our soldiers into war, you not only have to have a plan and a reason, you have to have an exit strategy. You have to know why you're there, what you're doing, what your goal is. We do not have that. And today we are putting 2,200 Marines on the way to the Middle East with no plan for them.
Should we just let Iran build
This is what you guys keep saying. What is the alternative? Should we just let them kill the whole world? It's like they weren't going to. There was no intelligence that said they had nuclear weapons. They were not ahead of nuclear weapons. We were in the middle of talks with them about nuclear weapons, which according to Omar
they've had 47
we were doing it. They were getting everything we wanted. America was getting everything we wanted. And we have to say
according to who? Not Steve Witkoff.
Yeah, no, not
Steve
Witkoff. Steve
he's a
Witkoff
brilliant
is the
expert.
most honest man in the entire world who actually literally feels like he works for Russia now, and Russia's the one benefiting from this. So no, I'm not going to take Steve Witkoff's.
Well, he's negotiating on our behalf.
But I think that, unfortunately, and I think that Jared Kushner was the one who finally made the decision, and he told his father-in-law to do it. And I think we'll get out of this war when Jared Kushner tells his father-in-law they're no longer benefiting from it.
So your answer is to continue to let Iran back Hezbollah.
No,
back
that is
Hamas,
not my answer. And
export
yet again,
terror all over the. Okay, so someone has to take them. No, it's not a false choice.
We
It's
did
a
not
real,
need to be in
it
this
is
war.
a real life
We did
choice
not need to
in
be
the
in this
United
war.
States
We started
of
the war
America
for
and
no
in the
reason.
Middle East.
We are the bad guys here.
Iran started the war in 1979.
Yeah, we can't go back to
Iran,
1979.
Yes, but we can
started
take
it this
away
year.
the fact
You
that
want
they
Iran
are exporting terror and death to all of their neighbors. They're a menace to their neighbors. Every Middle Eastern country is with us on this. Everyone wants Iran taken out of the game.
Yes, and they had
question
America do it with our soldiers and our money.
Let me just show you guys. This is the streets of Tehran earlier today, where a bunch of Iranian officials made a whole show of showing up in the streets at the Al-Quds parade in Tehran, literally even as there were explosions happening behind them. And you just mentioned sort of taking Iran out of the game. That remains an open question.
Right.
Are they being taken out of the game?
No, of course not, because there's no sign that the regime has lost any measure of control at all. In fact, what's more likely to
lost their
happen...
munitions.
Yes, but they still are able to repress their people and control their country in perpetuity, which means all we've done is spend American blood and treasure to replace an 86-year-old terrorist dictator with a 56-year-old terrorist
And his
dictator.
missile launchers.
Well done, everybody.
His
Good
missile
job.
launchers, his Air Force, his Navy,
But
his
they can
ability to
rebuild all
project
that
power
stuff.
abroad.
And the thing is, they have the ability to rebuild all that stuff. And for Iran, the only thing they have to do to win is survive. And if this regime survives, they've won. That means the only way that we have to win is to do regime change, which Trump doesn't really have the stomach for anyway. So we've got ourselves into this situation where Iran is going to be able to say, we resisted the great power of the United States of America and Israel, who tried to take down the regime. And unless Trump actually does that, which would take years and trillions of dollars and thousands of American lives, which I hope you're not suggesting.
Your answer,
that doesn't seem like a good idea.
your answer is to continue to let Iran menace its neighbors
No.
and the rest of the world.
That's not really what he
Those
said.
were the choices. That's what seven presidents
That's
have
your
decided,
choice. That's the
including
false
Donald
choice you
Trump in
keep
the first
giving
term.
us.
Seven presidents
Please
decided to leave Iran in this place.
understand nuance. And what I hate about these conversations, we always get caught up in, I say something and whoever is sitting next to me says something which is completely opposite of what I was ever talking about, what Josh was talking about. And what we're talking about is there are other ways to achieve the objective. Let's all assume at this table, let's assume for the purpose of argument that we all agree that we don't want to have Iran strengthened. The question is, how do you achieve that goal? And
we want to see Iran ended.
Well, I don't want to see Iran ended.
This regime
Well, the regime is a whole different thing. But you spoke about Iran as a country. I don't want to kill the country of 90 million people.
Sure, no one does. Don't put words in my mouth.
Right, I'm not trying to say that, but my point is, let's figure out nuanced ways to come up with solutions instead of assuming that because I don't agree with your approach, that means that I want to go back and allow Iran to do whatever they want to do.
Previously, we just gave them billions of dollars and they funded terror.
Let's go ahead and hit pause here because we'll have more on the other side of the break. Next for us, we have more breaking news.
This is exactly what I've been saying for a long time. One thing you'll notice is that some political commentators make bold claims with complete confidence, expecting no one to challenge them. But the moment someone pushes back with a simple question, the whole narrative starts to fall apart. That's what made this exchange so memorable. What stood out to me even more, though, wasn't the laughter. It was the bigger question Josh raised. What does victory actually look like for the United States? That's the question that often gets lost in conversations about war. Military action is one thing, but what is the long-term objective, and how do you know when you've achieved it? History has shown that removing leaders or weakening governments doesn't automatically bring lasting stability. In many cases, new leaders emerge, resentment grows, and the cycle of conflict continues. Whether you agree or disagree with that assessment, it's a question policymakers have wrestled with for decades. The same debate extends beyond the battlefield. Military conflicts often leave behind destroyed communities, displaced families, and generations of people shaped by loss and trauma. Those conditions can create long-term instability and make future peace even harder to achieve. Recognizing that isn't an excuse for terrorism. There is no justification for targeting innocent people. It's an acknowledgement that lasting peace requires more than military victories. That's why this discussion matters. If the goal is long-term security, then leaders have to think beyond the next headline or the next military operation. They have to ask whether today's decisions reduce future conflict or simply delay it. That's why I thought Josh's point was the strongest part of this entire debate. Instead of focusing on political talking points, he challenged everyone to think about the end game. And in my opinion, that's the conversation we should be having far more often. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with Josh's argument, or do you see it differently? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more political commentary and analysis. I'll see you in the next one.